The United States is preparing to mark the 20th anniversary of the September 11th hijacking attacks that killed nearly 3,000 people, the worst terrorist assault ever on American soil. In New York City on Saturday, a ceremony will take place at the 9/11 Memorial, where mourners gather as they have every year since the attack for the annual reading of victims' names from both the 1993 and 2001 attacks on the World Trade Center. They will also observe a citywide moment of silence at 8:46 a.m. local time, the time American Airlines Flight 11 crashed into the North Tower, with a second pause at 9:03 a.m. when United Airlines Flight 175 struck the South Tower. Viewer reporter Celia Mendoza is standing by live at Ground Zero in New York to tell us about how New Yorkers feel about the attacks 20 years later. Good afternoon, Celia. It's been 20 years.
Hi, Vince.
Yes, it's been 20 years, and someone today may wonder, how does it feel like in New York? What is the mood like for the New Yorkers 20 years later?
It's somber, but also hopeful that after 20 years, the United States has passed this chapter. One of the things that we have heard from people is that it's important that this is now history in the United States. A new generation has been born and raised after the attacks of September 11 here at Ground Zero. And the important part for them is that now the new generations are able to remember those that died here, and also the efforts made by the people that not only sacrificed their lives during that day, but that worked to make sure that everything got rebuilt in New York and other places around the country. Hope is one of the things that was most mentioned by people when coming here. And as you can see, a lot of them are still coming today, a day before the 20th anniversary of the attacks. And Vince, the mood, it is one of celebration in terms of what is next for the country.
Yes, now we know that attacks like those definitely create a sense of fear. What counter-terrorism measures have been taken to give that sense of confidence and safety to the New Yorkers?
Everything changed after September 11, and one of the things that was created was the counterterrorism unit. The lead of that office, along the mayor of New York City, gave a message of security, saying that it's not an actual threat, an imminent threat that they have, but they are boosting out and getting more policemen in the streets. Technology is being used, cameras. Security measures are being implemented to make sure that not only Manhattan, but the rest of the bureaus are taken care of during this celebration. Something that is important is that people are coming to this location, and the authorities are just letting them know that they can be part of the solution if they see something, to say something, and to be alert in case of spotting something suspicious.
Yeah, very quickly, what events are planned for this anniversary?
We will have the reading of the names, and also the president will be here at the September 11 memorial site. Important because last year it was completely virtual due to COVID-19. And as you can see, the preparations are ongoing, practices and all the tests of what it will be tomorrow. You can hear it on the environment, and you can see people coming here. So it will be a celebration to remember them, but also to try to restart a tradition here in the city.
Thank you very much, Celia. Viewer Celia Mendoza reporting live from Ground Zero in New York. Now let's turn our attention to Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where at 10:03 a.m. 20 years ago on September 11th, hijackers plunged United Flight 93 onto the ground. Viewers Ken Farabaugh is on the scene today in Shanksville, and he joins us now to tell us more about the commemoration activities and what it means to the people in Shanksville region. Kane, you were there years ago. Can you give us a sense of what you saw and what has happened over those years from your perspective?
Well, when I was here on September 11th, 2001, this was simply a strip mine, an abandoned strip mine, a field of no particular distinction. And September 11th obviously changed that. I say to a lot of people who I talk about the story with, the events that happened here in Pennsylvania, it was the biggest story of my career, but on 9/11, it was the smallest story of the day, given everything else that was happening across the country. But it wasn't until the weeks and the months after the 9/11 terrorist attacks that the full story of what happened on Flight 93 became public, became known to a lot of people. And the general understanding is that Flight 93, the terrorists who hijacked that airplane, intended to crash it into the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. And so now the transformation over the last 20 years of this site, it's gone from a mine to a memorial, and it is the final resting place of 40 souls who bravely apparently took over the cockpit in order to take over the airplane from the hijackers. And ultimately, where the plane fell from the sky is the resting location right behind me here. And this is the site now that is a memorial and also a cemetery.
Yeah. Now, most people may not have even have heard of Shanksville. What has this meant to the community in general, besides just the memorial being there?
Well, interestingly enough, right before we did this talk with you, Vincent, I happened to just pass by an elderly couple that was here, and they asked me for directions on where they should go to see the site here. And they happened to tell me that they were among the first people that actually came to this site on 9/11. They heard the explosion, they saw the smoke, they came here, the trees were on fire. This is the first time they have been to this site since 9/11. They haven't decided to come here before, but obviously this is a site of prominence for them. It dramatically transformed the landscape around where they live. This is now a top tourist attraction, a top destination to visit while coming to this region. And for this elderly couple that was here to see what this looks like now, some 20 years after they were here on the events that unfolded that day, for them it's dramatic. But it also put their town on the map. I mean, a lot of people didn't know about Stoystown or Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Now they do.
And what is planned for this anniversary in Shanksville?
So right now there is quite a bit of activity here. There are, several hundred people that are visiting the site today. Because of COVID-19 concerns, the commemoration event on September 11th in the morning is going to be closed to the public. But former President George W. Bush, Vice President Kamala Harris, they both plan to attend the commemoration event here September 11th in the morning. And then once the commemoration event is over, this site will open back up to the public at around noon on September 11th. Now, before that, on the evening of September 10th, tonight, there will be a luminara or a candlelight vigil in which it'll be a dramatic sort of honoring of those 40 souls on that airplane that gave their life.
Thanks, Ken. Good to see you looking as young as you looked 20 years ago. That's VOA's Ken Farabaugh reporting live from Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Well, now we turn our attention to the Pentagon, the U.S. military headquarters in Arlington, Virginia, near Washington, D.C., where on 9/11, American Airlines Flight 77 slammed into the massive building, killing all 64 people aboard, including 6 crew members and the hijackers, and another 125 in the building. A moment of silence will be observed at 9:37 a.m. on Saturday at the time of the crash. For more on the commemoration activities and remembrances, VOA Pentagon correspondent Carla Babb is standing by live in Arlington, Virginia. Hello, Carla. And now that was symbolic. That is the symbol of the U.S. military. Tell us what this has meant for the men and women who work there at the Pentagon.
Well, for the men and women at the Pentagon, it forever changed their lives. I mean, even if they were not at the Pentagon, everybody in the military was affected because these terror attacks that happened 20 years ago tomorrow, these attacks started a war that the United States just ended and just got out of Afghanistan days ago, less than 2 weeks ago. So it had a huge impact on the people involved. I've spoken over the years. I've spoken to someone in the Navy. She joined the Navy because her father was supposed to be in the building on 9/11 and happened to be at an assignment just down the road and missed it. But she decided that she wanted to serve her country after 9/11. I spoke just a few days ago with soldiers from the 10th Mountain Division. They were among the first, 20 years ago, the 10th Mountain Division was among the first to go to war in Afghanistan after 9/11. Their soldiers 20 years later being among the last to return. And more than half of them that were on the plane either weren't born or had no remembrance of that terror attack when it happened, but it forever changed their lives as well.
And now, we know that these commemorations have happened every year. What is particularly significant about this year, the 20th anniversary?
Well, of course, the obvious is that we are no longer in Afghanistan. The U.S. is no longer at war in Afghanistan. They went to Afghanistan in 2001 to target al-Qaeda, the terror group that was responsible for these attacks, and also to ouster the Taliban. The Taliban had harbored al-Qaeda. And the interesting thing is now, and the hard pill to swallow for so many in the military, is that 20 years later, the Taliban is back in power, and they have shown no interest in breaking the ties with al-Qaeda. They have said that in promises to the United States, but they haven't followed through. And so a lot of people will be looking in the coming days to see if Afghanistan once again becomes a safe haven for terror groups who want to strike the United States at home.
Now, Carla, quickly, what can we expect to see in terms of the events of this anniversary?
Well, tomorrow, just as every year, there will be an American flag unfurling at sunrise over the area that was struck on 9/11. There will also be a memorial service starting about 9 o'clock to honor those who were killed during the attack at 9:37. They usually hold a moment of silence. That is the moment where the plane struck the building. And the Secretary of Defense will also be presiding over that. At the end of the day, the president, who you have reported on, he will be at the other locations throughout the day. In the evening, afternoon time frame, he is going to come to the Pentagon and lay a wreath to remember those who died as well.
Carla, thank you very much. VOA Pentagon correspondent Carla Babb reporting live from Arlington, Virginia.